Welcome everyone to the Applied Information Show. I'm your host today, Peter Ashley, and I'm joined by Jeff O'Brien today.
Hey everyone.
And today we've got a really exciting show. We are actually going to be launching a new product, which is absolutely fantastic, which is the new low power 070C unit. And that's a fantastic new device for remotely controlling solar or small solar school beacons. So this is going to be a really, really exciting show. We're going to be going through, walking around, looking at how it actually looks when it's installed. We'll walk around through the lab. We're going to talk about when do you use the one type of school beacon product versus the other type of school beacon product. We'll be looking at the glance system. We'll be looking at travel safely. So it's a real exciting show. Please, if you're on YouTube and you've never subscribed to us, hit the subscribe button. Also hit the like button. That also definitely helps us, so really appreciate it. So Jeff, tell us a little bit about the 070C and why it's so important for school zone control.
Well, the big thing obviously is providing the safety for the kids out there. What's unique and different about this device is the size change, and the other part is the power consumption. So this device is, you can see here we've got a couple of different devices here. The standard 070C here, the 070, our standard unit, is doing a great job for us, but there are a lot of applications where we need something a little bit smaller, just for the applications, as well as the power consumption in some areas where we have much smaller power options with smaller solar panels and smaller batteries. So this is a great solution for those applications.
Okay, awesome. So just to give everyone a bit of an overview of what a school beacon system actually does, we're going to play a short little video before we'll go run around outside and have some fun. So I'm going to hit a little video over here. Oh, no, wrong one. This one.
We ask enough of our educators. At Applied Information, we try to help. Like making school beacons easier to manage. Adjust beacon schedules from anywhere. Get customizable, smart alerts based on your criteria. Install is easy and the beacons configure themselves automatically. When it comes to managing your school beacons, Applied Information has you covered. Managing kids, we don't really have an answer for that. But school beacons, we can definitely do school beacons.
I absolutely love that video because I got 2 little kids and managing the kids is way harder than managing the technology.
Absolutely.
So, this little product, just to give you guys a little bit of, what are some of the differences of what we've done is this little guy has now got almost all the same technology as our previous version, but we really looked at it as in terms of how are we going to fit something inside of a little 10-watt solar panel. Power consumption, size, and we literally took almost all of our technology that we have in the larger unit and compressed it down into this unit. So there's some really, really advanced technology that we've put into this to get it down to this size. And it's not and this is what we're going to be talking about today. It's not a one-size-fits-all. This is specifically designed for integrated solar panels, where you need a small unit to go in there that's very, very low power. When you have a AC school beacon and it's in a cabinet, highly recommend using our standard unit that we've got out everywhere, because this has got a built-in power supply for AC and solar and a built-in battery to look at power failure events and things like that. So we're going to explain this in a little bit more detail. But before we do, what we're going to do is we just ran out earlier to go and record a short little video of us going around outside of our facility to look at the actual solar devices. So I'm going to play a short little video there to show us walking outside of the facility. All right, guys, we're going to walk outside of the iATL and go have a look at some of this technology actually running outside. So we've got a number of solar devices outside that are going to allow us to wire in and see how all this stuff works. So this is outside the iATL, and we're going to walk around the back here. And over here, we're going to first walk up to the little brother of the 070, which is the 030, that is designed to actually monitor RRFBs and other solar devices. So when I open up the solar panel here, you'll see this is the little 030 unit that's deployed in here. And this unit's going to monitor solar panel voltage, solar panel current, the batteries in the unit, the button press activations, the RRFB activations. And this is the antenna up here at the top that you'll be able to get the GPS and cellular communication. All of this information goes back to the same glance platform. So if you've got normal AI solutions, you can connect up all of your RRFBs with the little brother, the 030, that's been designed for these small solar panels. Now what we did was, a lot of people have got these 10-watt school zone solutions. So we wanted a way of actually being able to control these. So this is why we created the 070C. This is the big brother for the 030, and it has the control aspects built into it. So it will monitor everything within the unit, be able to monitor the batteries, the solar panels, the actual activations of the beacons, and also if there are any lamp failures. What it also has built into it is a knockdown detection sensor. And the knockdown detection sensor basically looks at the orientation, and if the beacon gets knocked down or if RRFB gets knocked down, it'll send back an alert saying this is actually being knocked down. And these things get knocked down all the time, so it's another great feature that we've implemented into the system. Now we've got some further solutions. Here's another RRFB, but here's a JSF solution. And this is an integrated solar panel from them with a beacon over here. And we'll have a different bracket at the back for the GPS antenna that you saw before. And you'll see as I open up this, there's some instructions in here, how to actually wire up to a AI unit. And very, very simple in terms of, connecting up, wiring into one of the AI units over here. JSF has designed this solution so that, they've actually created a little terminal block here that you can actually wire into and connect up all of our terminals, and they've got some L brackets over here designed for us as well. They've got a very, very simple 24/7 flasher with integrated solar panel, and we would be monitoring the LED failures and everything that we would do normally, and the unit gets deployed right over here in their cabinet. Now we've also integrated to TAPCO solutions as well, where we've deployed this in RRFBs with TAPCO as well as school zones. So there's a number of different configurations. What you guys need to do is just reach out to us and let us know what you have. But this solution allows you now to connect up to all of your small solar panel devices, because these units are only using roughly 30 milliamps. And therefore you can run them on these small solar panels. And that 30 milliamps, we're going to get down to like 20 milliamps down in the future, so which is fantastic. So let's go walk back inside. But guys, please think about any kind of questions that you might have. Please throw them out at us. We love to hear more back from you guys. And, it's just a really exciting new product with all these new features, and the form factor and the size of this unit is just fantastic. So we'll open up the door here, and Jeff and I are going to just sit back down and hopefully have some more information and more things coming out to you guys. So awesome. So you can see what it looks like when you're getting it deployed in this tiny little solar panel. I mean, that 10-watt solar panel, and I mean, there's a lot of those deployed out in the field, and most people don't want to go and rip the whole thing down and put something totally new in.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's driven us to put this together. We've had so many requests and questions about how do we deal with some of the older technologies that are out there, smaller solar panels. So this is a great solution for them to jump in there and wire in or wire over what they have existing, and then modernize the management and the monitoring of what's going on out there. So it's a great solution for that.
Jeff, can you talk a little bit about, we spoke a little bit about the little brother, the 030. Can you talk a little bit about, why we have these whole sort of range of products and how that benefits a particular city?
Yeah, there's a lot of interest originally just to put the devices out there and for the monitoring. And so as we continue to grow our business, people kept coming to us and asking about, again, the variety of different tools that are out there with RFBs, with pre-existing devices that are out in the field, and some that had AC power as their power source, and some that were just DC only. And some of them, in fact, were asking about different ways of utilizing communication. Typically, we provide the cellular communication as a part of that, but in some instances, agencies were even looking at how do we utilize our own fiber system, our own network out there for that. So there was quite an array of different applications that now we have different solutions for those different combinations of requests from our customers.
And so basically what that's doing is providing a platform that we can get everybody on the Glance platform. So Glance allows you to monitor and control all your school zones, as well as your 24/7 flashes, as well as your RRFBs. So now you know whenever there's a fault, you're going to get a text message. And now with this new feature of knockdown, which we got driven from you guys, the customers, saying, is there a way of finding out whether or not one of our devices actually got knocked down? Because especially the RRFBs in the middle of the road, they get knocked down all the time.
Yeah, we're seeing requirements all over the country where that's now a new requirement within the specification that the devices have the ability to notify when there's a knockdown.
It's amazing. The technology keeps on evolving and evolving. And I'm really, really happy with this tiny little unit over here in terms of being able to do, all of this kind of monitoring out here. And it's just such a simple little unit. I think, Jeff, maybe what we're going to do is we'll jump and we'll have a look at some of the stuff in the lab behind here in terms of when would you use the different types of devices. So we're going to jump into a mobile camera here. Just bear with us as we transition over. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to this area of the lab where we've got a school beacon solution. And this is the normal standard 070C unit. This has got an integrated battery in it. It's got an integrated power supply as well for AC voltage. And it's got some 15 amp relays. Those are the three big differences between this unit and that small little unit. Because this is designed to do solar, like it's doing right here. It's got a solar system with a sun saver charger, in an actual, and this would generally be installed in a cabinet. But if we move across here, the same unit, is controlling an AC beacon. And this allows you to have one solution for controlling AC or solar throughout your city. So there's a great way of looking at this and utilizing this product for those applications. When you've got the integrated solar panel, that's when you're really going to get into using that 070C, and that just allows you to connect up those types of devices. The other difference, this same unit here is also able to control radar feedback signs. Right. So a lot of you guys have also used our solution to bring in the radar feedback. This is designed for that. The 070C is not yet designed for that. We're talking about it in the future, maybe doing that, but right now it's just this guy. So whenever you've got a school beacon solution that's got an integrated solar panel, that's really when you want to use that 070C. Now, one of the other key things, and we've been seeing that this year, everyone's turning off 3G. And a lot of agencies have been coming back and saying, oh, what are we going to do? You know, our 3G devices we bought from you 5 years ago, what's going to happen to those? So one of the things that we do is when we provide what we call our connectivity and support package with the 070C, with this unit, we guarantee cellular communication. And you'll see these are little modules for the modems. Now we've gone from 2G to 3G to 4G, and you know, at some stage this might end up being 5G or 6G or 7G or whatever it is. But we actually replace these units for free as part of our connectivity and support plan. So what that means is anyone that purchases devices from us is guaranteed to have connectivity. And you know, the rate of change of all of this stuff is rapid. I mean, you know, we created this little artwork over here that shows, you know, when we first started, we started off with 2G modems. And you see we had the same design, separate PC board that you could actually go in and replace with 3G when it came out. We've got some units that are using Wi-Fi, 4G, and then we also do DSRC and CV2X, now mainly CV2X. And then, of course, 5G. You know, the chipsets aren't available for these small things. There are some chipsets available in phones and things like that, but it hasn't got mainstream all the way down to these type of chips. So when it is available, that's all going to come out for, you know, people like yourselves, that we're always going to keep you up to date with the latest and greatest. So again, guys, please send some questions our way. We'd love to hear a little bit more about any kind of questions and concerns that you might have. We're going to head back down and sit down, and probably go over some other interesting things that Jeff wants to jump over. So, Jeff, what do you want to talk about next?
Well, I think there's a variety of things that we should cover. You brought it up a couple of times with the knockdown sensor. And we have in the 070C, it's an integrated sensor. Same for the 030. We have a separate knockdown sensor that's not integrated. It's a small chip that we can, or board that we can add to our standard 070. So again, whichever flavor that we have out there, we have a solution for the knockdown. Again, there's a difference between the integrated knockdown sensor, which is the 030 and the 070C, as well as the external knockdown sensor for our conventional devices. So it's important to kind of know that the distinction is there, that we have both of those solutions either way our customers are looking for. Another one, completely different segue, is wanted to mention that we also have a number of learning courses on all of our products on our uQualio, our video academy. And it takes you from the very beginning, how you jump into Glance, how you utilize the tools, how you program devices, how you get notifications. So there's a variety of ways of how to get into it. And then the utilities and all the other parts that help you do the settings and the configurations are a big part of what that video set tells you about. So we spent a lot of time building that library, and there's a lot of our partners, a lot of our customers are using it actively every day, so we're excited about that. But as we have a number of new folks that are watching today, it's a big part of educating our both our friends and our partners and our users on how to get into the system and manage it and provide all the settings and the functionality of Glance. So I wanted to make sure that we talk about
and just before we jump over, we'll show on the screen over here. This is what the learning management channel looks like. It's available on the desktop, on your mobile phone. Okay. So when you go on and install a beacon or an RFB, you can go in and look at, you know, the course. Oh, how do I do installation? And it'll literally open up a whole bunch of short little videos. What tools do I need? What's in the box? How do I install it on an old timer switch? So all of that information is there for everybody, and it's across all of our products. So, you know, you can go in and you can look at driver feedback signs, preemption, all of those kinds of things. All right, we do have a question over here, Jeff. We own quite a few JSF and TAPCO systems. Should the pricing for the 070s and 030s be consistent with the pricing we get from our Commander distributors? Yeah, pretty similar. What we do is you've got, if you got JSF or TAPCO, our units, depending on what you have from them, whether it's an integrated solar panel, that's when we would recommend using the 070C. If it's a cabinet on the side of the pole, generally I always recommend the unit that goes into the cabinet, because sometimes those are AC or solar depending on what they are. So yeah, absolutely, these units are going to be pretty simple to deploy into your JSF and TAPCO systems.
Yeah, I think that's the nice thing about what we're developing. Our teams put together a number of the installation guides that there's a growing variety of devices that we're planting our control devices into. So we've got a wide array of libraries of installation guides for the variety of devices that are out there.
You're not kidding, because there are a lot of old versions of there's this type of solution from one supplier, and then there's their older version and their newer version. And so we've got a number of different ways of how do you wire in, because all of them are slightly different. So we've got short little videos on how to wire into those solutions, where you land each of the wires. So it makes it very, very simple to be able to control them. So that's one of those growing arrays. As we get connected to more and more devices, we find out how to do it. And some of the solutions, interestingly enough, they have a PWM signal that goes out to PWM is pulse width modulation, that goes out to the LEDs. And we've actually had to develop our lamp monitoring, which monitors the current, is now monitoring the current in a PWM signal. And it's able to actually determine whether or not you got a failure in that PWM to the actual LED. So there's real cool technology in all of this as well, which is fantastic.
And Peter, one of the other things that our customers are growing into in different parts of the country, some probably more quickly than others, but it's the whole idea of school beacons and how they're working in the connected vehicle world. Can you talk a little bit about maybe how each of these operate in the connected vehicle world?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, connected vehicles, big subject on its own. But what we're doing on the school zones is particular applications. And the particular applications are speeding in school zones. What we're really trying to do is slow down people. The reason we turn beacons on is to change the speed limit. But often, if I'm driving out there in a new city, I sometimes don't see the beacons. I'm distracted. I'm following my navigation and so on. So what the system does is it sees as soon as you enter a school zone, and it monitors your speed. And if you drive more than 5 miles above the speed limit, it's going to say, bop, bop, speeding in a school zone. Because none of us want to speed in a school zone. It's one of those reasons that we put a school zone in, is to slow the cars down. Then in the 030 or the RRFB side of the house, what we're doing is if somebody pushes the button to cross the crosswalk, it's going to broadcast that message out, so that now all of a sudden, now you know that there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk ahead. And we can show a short little video on exactly that in terms of how all of this works in school zone safety.
Are you out? Yes. Are you out of bed?
On school days, 84% of the time, kids aren't up when they say they are.
We got it.
Oh! One more round, please.
One more, then we gotta get ready.
Okay.
On school days, 1 more round equals 3 more rounds. On all days, 5 out of 5 parents agree you should do as they say, not as they do. On school days, teens say they'll always be on time.
Let's get to the real facts.
School bus stopped ahead.
More than 80,000 stop arm violations occur per day in the United States. On average, motorists drive 5 to 7 miles per hour faster than the posted speed limit in school zones.
Speeding in school zone.
Half of teen drivers say they speed compared to older drivers.
Pedestrian crosswalk.
95% of pedestrians survive accidents when the vehicle is traveling less than 20 miles per hour. Download the Travel Safely app to help ensure that students, parents, and teachers of your community start and end their days safely.
So, you know, that's one of those videos that really shows, you saw there in the vehicle, Travel Safely enunciating, you know, speeding in school zone. Now, Travel Safely also, it's an audible first app. It runs in the background. If you're running Waze or Google Maps, it's going to enunciate those messages to you. So there's nothing that you need to do. And then the same thing with pedestrian crosswalks. That's a case of, you know, providing that extra layer of safety. And there's no one type of technology that's going to totally make one thing safer, but, you know, safety is in layers. You know, slow down the people. That's why we put in school zones. You know, we're trying to slow them down. Now we've got to ensure that the school zones are working. You know, when the batteries go flat, no one knows about it. Well, your school zones aren't working. And that's where, you know, this technology of putting in, you know, these types of devices really, really helps, because now the traffic department's going to get a text message, email message, your batteries have failed in your school zone flasher. And that's the kind of magic behind all of this.
Yeah, I think back to a number of the customers who have integrated and have been long-standing customers that have been out 4, 5, 6 or greater. The technology that they have had that capability of enabling the zones so we can give those connected vehicle notifications to the Travel Safely app. It's on either style of phone, whether Android or Apple, and the people who live in the area can download those for free and just drive through the zone, and they get notifications if they need to be notified about something. And so it's been a nice transition for agencies who thought that they would never have an opportunity to transition into a connected vehicle technology. And then we have a couple of discussions with our partners in the area and talk with the customers like, you guys have a connected vehicle technology out there. Let's turn it on and let's use it. So simple investment. Years ago now, you talked about how our technology moves forward. That's just something that we added to the improvement of the entire system that brings better value, more long-lasting value, and really focuses on adding to the safety in those areas for whether you're a pedestrian or riding your bicycle, walking in that school zone. It just offers that layer of proximity warning, so it provides, again, that added level of safety around there for anybody that happens to be in the roadway. So fantastic way of doing things.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. You know, Jeff, I think one of the things, you know, we've talked about is, you know, how all of these devices connect up to our Glance platform as well. And I wanted to actually just jump into a Glance platform to show people, you know, what it looks like to have an RFB and so on. So, you know, we're going to jump in and show you, you know, the Glance system. And you'll see over here, this is the Glance system. It utilizes Google Maps. It has a list of all your devices here on the left-hand side. And, you know, because we got Google Maps, you can go into satellite view, map view, and you can really zoom in and see what's happening with all your different devices. So they've got, you know, a whole range of devices, driver feedback signs, school zones, and, you know, because we fully integrated to Google Maps, you can drop in a, you know, basically a street view even and see, hey, there's our school beacon. Oh, wait, there we go. I'm almost there. There's the actual control box. There's the school beacon. So this is showing us exactly what it looks like and exactly where it is. And you can see the icon over there for our unit. So this is showing you the school zone with the solar panel. And then, you know, what it allows you to do is click on the school zones, see exactly what's happening. System voltage, solar array voltage, the lamp status. So we can really see that the beacon has been turning on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's turned on this morning, but it hasn't gone on this afternoon. You can see this is what great solar arrays look like. You can see here they had a cloudy day where the solar panels didn't charge the batteries any further.
Very obvious, right? Yeah.
And we can also see the next scheduled events at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. The beacon will turn on, and at 4:15 it'll turn off. And it's a very simple system to edit. You can click in, you can see, this is quite an interesting schedule that they have here, because they've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that the beacon turns on at 7 to 8:30. But then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the beacon turns on at 3 to 4:15. So, quite an interesting thing that we can do there is what we've done is on Fridays to have an early release. So what that does is allows us to really go in and have an early release day. A lot of the times you have that on on a Wednesday every day. So when you've got an early release that happens every day of the week, this is how you schedule it. If you have it that it happens, once a month or whatever, you can create a second schedule and have it move over to that. So, what we'll have here is you've got all of their holidays and exceptions here. So basically, this is going to show you all the holidays and exceptions in terms of what's going on in this. Got another question. So not sure on the question there. So in the event of us requiring to upgrade the modem in the 070C, is it possible to do a modem swap for the unit? We just replace the unit entirely. 100% correct. We just ship you a new unit like this, and you just replace the whole unit. This unit's basically all the technology is built onto a single PC board, and it's because it's such a small unit, we can just pull it out, put a new unit in. That's a great question, by the way. So going back to the glance system, you can create all of these different schedules over here and holidays and exceptions. And then we also allow you to do program delays, which is for snow days. If you've got any snow days that you want to implement, that you know that tomorrow morning we've got the beacons will be delayed by 2 hours because there's a big snowstorm coming in. And then, or hey, tomorrow we know that we're not going to delay it. There's a hurricane that's coming in. We can select beacons off, and we can select all of the beacons within the whole city. So now you've got all of the beacons selected, and you hit publish to all of them, and it's going to basically create that plan that will turn off the beacons for tomorrow, but on Monday they'll automatically come back on. Now the radar feedback sign page, this allows you to configure radars. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but you can select up speed offsets, the speed limit, when the sign turns on the minimum speed for showing the actual your speed, when the sign starts flashing your speed, when it starts flashing the slow down message sign, and when it stops showing your speed, so the maximum speed. So there's a lot of information here that allows you to program these beacons, but also to report on the beacons. So you can go into the report viewer and you can look at the beacon health report. And they've got one over there and that one. And we can go to the driver feedback sign report. We can go to all of the different types of reports here. We can also go into, for instance, their RRFB reports and go look at how many activations they've been having. So you can actually see the different activations for these RRFBs and how many activations they have in a day, and then how many activations here they have on a per hour basis, basically. So it gives you a lot of information here of where the beacons are active. They're active during the week over here, and on the weekend over here, they weren't active at all. So it gives you a lot of traffic insights as well, for these type of solutions. So great, great information that you can get there out of the whole solution. I'm going to go back and answer one or two questions over here. So what is the typical energy consumption for the 070C? So roughly it's between 30 and 35 milliamps. That's the energy consumption, and we're aiming to be around 20 milliamps, as we sort of optimize, but currently at the moment it's 35 milliamps. I think 35 or between 30 and 35 milliamps. So it's designed that you can run on a 10-watt panel solution.
Yeah, that's the key point is, again, like we talked about earlier, so many agencies have some of these devices that have been out there for 10, 15 years, and they're looking for a device to upgrade their management of the devices without having to replace the whole series of batteries and solar panels. So this is a perfect transition for them to modernize, not only managing the schedule and the holiday plans, but also then transitioning into a connected vehicle technology.
Yeah, absolutely great points, Jeff. And, all of this technology is exciting. What I think is, what we've done is we've really gone in and taken all of our expertise and built it into a very, very low energy consumption device, plus also building the knockdown detection sensor in here. So, this is really changing the game for agencies that didn't have the money to rip down, all the infrastructure that they had out in the field, and they wanted a small integrated solar solution. This allows them to quickly retrofit that. And, in the days right now, last year, school schedules changed like crazy.
Yeah, the last couple of years have been crazy, where people would go to school for a couple of weeks at a time, and then they got the notification, hey, we're sending our kids home for another couple of weeks. So it was certainly an easy way for the managers of those school zones to jump into glance, put some delay, or just terminate the schedule for a couple of weeks. And when they got the notification from the school district they were going back on Monday, it was a couple of clicks and they're back in operating again. So it really served a fantastic purpose for them to manage those school zones for safety for the kids going to and from school.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of those things that, it's going to, I wish COVID would go away tomorrow, but it ain't. So it's one of those things that we've got to plan for. There's going to be lots of makeup days and things like that. So, having the ability of remotely changing on the fly is becoming more and more important. And then also at the same stage, knowing when there's a problem. That, the whole idea behind school beacons is to make our schools safer. And the way that we make our schools safer is, first and foremost, make sure that the actual technology is working, because if the beacon just doesn't turn on, it's the same as having no beacon out there. So knowing about these problems ahead of time is a great resource. One of the other things that we've put together, for anyone that wants to know, when do I deploy an 070, when do I deploy an 070C, when do I, how should I choose it? We've put together a little table for everybody. So you can really go in and see exactly in terms of what do we use over here. So an 070 is going to monitor your solar panel voltage, and so are all of them. Currently, the 070C and the 030 also monitors solar panel current. So it's another additional thing that we've built into it. They all monitor your batteries. But the 070C also has a built-in knockdown detection sensor, whereas these two units currently need to have an external knockdown detection sensor. And when we look at the power consumption, you can really see the major difference here of the 35 milliamps on the 070C. But it doesn't have radar sign integration, it doesn't have Ethernet, and we're not planning on putting Ethernet into the device because it's really designed for integrated solar solutions. And the power supplies, you know, on an 070, you've got an AC and a DC power supply. So for majority of cities that have, you know, cabinets on their poles, the 070 is what you're gonna put in. Those are the big differences. And of course the size. So when we talk about an 070, if you've got a 30-watt solar panel, you can drop that in there with the power consumption. But with an 070C, you can put it into a 10-watt panel, a 20-watt panel, or 30-watt or higher, whatever you want to. But it's really designed for the smaller size solar panels, and it's a very small unit that you can put in.
Yeah, Peter, a lot of times we get questions about how agencies can purchase devices like this. And while we're not going to talk about the pricing per se today, what we can talk about is how we package things together. So whether you buy the 070 or the 070C, you get a piece of hardware, and typically agencies will buy anywhere between 1 to 10 years of service. We call that a connectivity and service plan. So it's really kind of an all-encompassing process where they'll buy the box and they get service to be able to manage it, whether they're using their own service or whether like a local fiber network like we talked about earlier. That's probably more on the rare side, but most people will include the cellular plan with these boxes. So with that process, we call it a connectivity and a service plan for a reason. It's not just the bandwidth. It's making sure that the device operates, so we have guaranteed connectivity. So if someone buys a program that they've got 10 years of service, and 7 years from now, let's say we're transitioning and all there is a 5G or maybe a future 6G, that probably is a little bit of a stretch, but the idea is that when agencies buy the box, they get the guarantee that this device is going to operate for the entire length of time that they're paying for the connectivity and the service plan. So that's the service part of it. So it's a really important aspect of it. While that thing is operating, the device is continuously functioning as agencies ask for new improvements or feature sets or better ways of functioning processing on board. That's all a part of the upgrades and the updates. That's a part of the system. The other part of it you showed earlier is the glance. We're consistently updating and upgrading glance. So the power is between the two devices being able to manage what's going on and giving the operator the best, most efficient data as a part of that process. So there's a ton of things that's kind of rolled into that. This device is also 100% warranted during that connectivity and support plan. So if somebody buys a 10-year plan with this, it's 100% covered. If it gets hit by lightning, somebody shoots it with a shotgun. I'm from Texas. There's a lot of people that kind of hang around and do practice shots at some municipal devices. So every once in a while we get one with a couple of pellets inside. But we cover those things. The technology is really where all of the heart of the operation is. So I understand there's some investment in the hardware pieces, but that's part of the commitment. When somebody decides to partner with us, this device is going to continue to operate. We make sure that we manage the transition of guaranteed connectivity, whatever the device is. And today we're talking about school zone devices in our glance system, but we also have some devices that operate in intersections. You saw in the glance view that there were some intersections there. So that's equally as important. So the devices that are functioning in the traffic signal cabinets that are cellular based, we offer that same coverage and that same connectivity guarantee on warranty. And that's a huge part of why agencies are looking at our solutions.
Jeff, do you want to just explain in a little bit more detail what is the over-the-air software updates?
Yeah, that's everyone kind of asks about that, and it's anyone who has a smartphone has experienced that before. They've got a notification that they've got an update waiting. Now, while we don't do it quite that way, we do reach out to either our partners or the end user and say, hey, we're ready to deploy a new update. And we negotiate, hey, we're going to do that Thursday afternoon or over the spring holiday or whatever what the case might be. And our team does all that. They schedule it, they take care of it, They broadcast.
So do I have to go out to the field when you do that?
Now, that's the beautiful part of it. It's all done just like the smartphone. You hit a button, and in this case, you say, hey, yeah, I'll accept the update. And our team just does it. It goes through the process, it reboots, it comes back up, and does its thing.
But why should I do that? I mean, what's the benefit for me?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. Just like with your smartphone, it works better. This device works better. So part of what we talked about earlier with the advancements in glance as well as our hardware pieces, we find that there are better ways to improve the way it functions. You've talked about reducing the power consumption of this device in the future from the 30 to 35 down to now down to near 20. That's a part of it. So anything that we can do to improve the functionality, the long life of these devices, the way it operates, that's what we consistently strive for in improvement. And we make it really easy by providing the OTA or the over-the-air updates.
So tell me one other thing. If there's no connection to the glance system, do the beacons actually turn on?
Yeah, that's also a common misconception when our customers talk to us. What happens if there's something that comes up with the cell communications? Is my device still going to work? So when you had glance showing there, you showed the default, the number 1 schedule. And so what happens in the system is glance communicates to these devices in the field, whichever box it is, and says, hey, here's your schedule. So it operates the schedule that's been transmitted to it. When there's a change that's required, even on a holiday plan schedule, hey, we didn't know we were supposed to be off on Friday. The guy goes in and manages the changes, and now we're going to be off on Friday. It broadcasts the schedule to the devices. So even if you remove the antenna connection, it's going to run the schedule that it was sent. So it's a key way of making sure the system operates. There's a GPS connection on this device as well. So not only will we know where it is within glance, that kind of pops up on the glance map, but it also uses that GPS connection to maintain the timing for each of these devices. So I remember in the old days with some of our old systems, there was a long school zone that might be a half a mile long, and on one end it would turn on, and it might be 2.5, 3 minutes later that the other end turns on. So when the law enforcement was out there, it was always kind of a difficult thing of, well, when do I issue the ticket? This end wasn't flashing, but the other end was. That unifies this, so all of these devices are turning on at the same second, both ends, all around town. When the scheduled on is there, it turns on right at the right time. So there's a nice functionality on that GPS connection as well.
Now tell me, we've got a question which is, how does that unit actually monitor when an LED fails?
Yeah, there's some nice ways for us to do that. Typically, we're looking at a current monitor to the lamps that are connected to the outputs or the relays of these devices, whichever device we have, whether it's the 70C or the 70. So we're able to look at a calibrated number of what the current draw is for the lamps when we do the installation. So we know, hey, they're all on now, they're all functioning properly, and this is what the current draw looks like. If there's a lamp that's lost, it changes or affects what that current draw measurement is. So we set that threshold when we do the calibration, and that allows us to make the notification that, hey, you've got a lamp out. The calibration, the current draw has changed since the time that we knew they were all good.
But we're using the current, not the voltage.
That's right.
So we know physically that the actual bulb has stopped working.
That's right.
And one of the other things that I mentioned earlier that we've gone and developed is that the solution, we found out a lot of the low power LED solutions actually are using pulse width modulation on the LEDs to basically reduce the amount of power that's being used. And so we had to actually monitor the current while something was getting a pulse width modulation signal to it. So that's another thing that this unit has been upgraded to do, which is really cool. So it's just another one of those for the technology geeks out there. That's what we did there. Jeff, you talked about doing the utilizing Glance as a platform to connect all of your different devices. And you talked about one of the cities that recently that they've done school zones, pedestrian crosswalks, emergency vehicles, traffic signals. What are a lot of the cities, why would they want to put it all under one platform?
Yeah, you're speaking of Addison, Texas. It's in my backyard, and some great folks that are a part of that process. They were looking at doing a variety of things. They put in a new traffic system. They are managing from a central system all their traffic signal controllers. They had a tool system that was basically a 900 megahertz radio package that was an old system that was really failing them. So our partners there at Paradigm worked with the customers and transitioned them into a nice new system. And they were then looking at ways to improve that communications package. So they talked about one of our devices, our field monitoring unit, that resides on Glance and gives them that access to the controllers real time. It gave them access to looking at some of the devices in the field, like video detection and radar detection. It allowed them to pipe some of the video detection that they have in the field, whether it's HD or some of the older video technology that they have, even some of the pan tilt zoom PTZ style cameras that they've had deployed out there. So that integrated into Glance. While we were talking with them, they also had a chat a little bit about their school zone systems and being able to upgrade and bringing those under the same platform. And while we were chatting with them about that, they also had some RFB locations that they wanted to monitor. So Addison is a relatively small footprint. It's a couple square miles, about 35 or 40 intersections. So it's a great cross section of the technology for them to fold everything that they have within Glance. So if an intersection goes out or their battery backup devices and their signals go bad, they're utilizing the preemption side of what we're doing on cellular. School zones do something a little funny. If they lose their batteries on their RFB, those are all aspects now that are part of the Glance system that gives them that instant notification, instant gratification really, that know that the system is there and operating, and provides reporting and history and archiving and all kinds of cool stuff. So they're really excited about being able to have this tool set within Glance, whether it's just school beacons and managing that. That's an efficient thing that many people do. For this particular town, having all of these pieces under that same umbrella was a big, easy way for them to kind of manage what they have.
Great. Before we jump into a little bit more on that, in the event, we've got a question here, in the event of a 4G LTE, loss of 4G LTE, will the 070 fail over to 3G? Yes, it would, but it's kind of a moot point because 3G has been turned off pretty much in the whole country now. So in February, it's going to be officially cut off everywhere, but there's a huge number of areas where 3G is already being cut off totally on the towers. So they've been going through, and because we've got a large AT&T, we've got 26,000 devices connected with them out there. They notify us of all these things, and that's why we've gone through this year and we've replaced of the 3G devices roughly about 4,000 units on obviously on our cost to replace all those 3G modems to a 4G modem.
That's a distinguishing feature of that connectivity and service plan. It didn't cost our customers anything. We paid for that upgrade. It was included in their plan.
Yeah.
So it's a huge part about that. Some of the other suppliers in the transportation market have communication devices that were on that 3G platform, and those agencies are having to pay for new modem upgrades.
What does an agency have to pay for that then? I mean, how much does that cost?
We're hearing everything from $500 on the low end to $1,500 on the high end per device. So
okay.
It's a little bit of a challenge for some who didn't expect that.
Yeah. And then another question, what is the max current that the current monitoring can handle? You know, we haven't hit anything, you know, because we're doing AC beacons that obviously doing a lot more current than, and the older sort of, you know, whether you've got I remember some people have got like 22-watt bulbs in there, you know, the old bulbs. We monitor all of it, so we've never had any that we can't. It's actually more difficult to monitor the lower wattage because the amount of current draw on the lower side, you know, it's measuring signal to noise ratio. So, you know, the signal to noise ratio of a much higher current unit is much easier to monitor versus the lower end, which is a little bit more difficult. So that whole way of doing that. Now, Jeff, I wanted to basically, you know, you went out to Addison a couple of weeks back and shot a video, and I thought maybe this is a great time to show the audience kind of what Addison, Texas did with their whole system where they deployed school zones, RRFBs, intersections, emergency vehicles, and so on. So we're going to go jump into a short video here.
Addison's a very small town. We're 4.3 square miles. 1 mile of that is taken up by an airport. Our population's around 16,000, but any given day we're well over 100,000 people in our district.
For as long as I've been here, town of Addison has been about shining in their own individual way, and the special events being a big part of that.
Even though we're actually landlocked, the town has grown a lot. Not only older sections of town, there's been a lot of commercial properties coming up.
Our travel times are incredibly important. Obviously, we're dealing with traffic. We have major highways running through our city. We have large streets, so the traffic is always on our mind and trying to get to our location as quick as possible.
Well, the existing preemption system we had for years worked on line of sight. And the town many years ago starting a beautification project. Over the years, those trees maturing, parks getting pretty and beautiful. Some of the roadways, the approaches to vital intersections became an issue.
We would have a fire truck that would come up to the intersection and would be within 150 feet before it actually got triggered. With this system, what we noticed was that we could trigger intersections ahead of the queue. If we wanted to trigger an intersection 3,000 feet away, we could do that.
In the old system, part of our time was taken up every month. We would have to go do checks on the equipment and go look at it, and the fire department did that on top of the streets looking at their end. So that took up time for us. Now we have the ability that traffic department, streets can look at the system and say everything's good, or they can call us to say, hey, we're seeing something. Have you guys noticed that you're having a problem at this intersection?
So we technically started with school flashers. Being such a small town and having only 2 school zones, it made it kind of hard for us to justify doing the units at the school flashers. Then when we put them in and then COVID hit, it was great for one guy to be able to go on and change a start of school or end of school. We did 3 intersections so we could try that process too. It worked great. So then we started looking at other products. We started RRFBs. We did a RRFB in town. We went to communications to that. With this system, we were able to bring everything back into what we have Centrex, to our TMC. It was something that helped out tremendously for those obsolete little intersections that are way out there. There was no more repeaters. There was no having to communicate one intersection down a corridor to communicate to another one. I think connected vehicle is the future. Everybody that travels anywhere around town is gonna want more information, even if you're in your vehicle. I mean, everybody's on their cell phone anyways. They have a phone with them. So why not use that technology that's out there already and squeeze it a little bit more and get more information out of it?
So as a traffic signal technician, my ultimate job is to keep the intersections working at an optimal level and move traffic through town without any problems to serve the citizens and the employees of the town that are working here. The AI system has worked phenomenally, making our job much easier as signal technicians.
Completely satisfied with the system. We love the way it's working. Installation was done here on site.
We've had a good working relationship with Paradigm. They're very professional, very responsive, and have done a wonderful job with the support of the products that they back. And
so working with the guys, it was a painless process for us.
So, I just want to, we've run out of time. I want to be cognizant of that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the hour that you did. Really appreciate it. And please reach out to us. If you got any questions, anything like that, will it work here? Will it work in this situation? Just contact us at sales@appinfoinc.com. Or call us, email us, come onto social media, reach out to us in that manner. So I want to thank you all for joining us today, and until the next webinar, thank you so much. Thanks, Jeff, for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like and subscribe. You'll get updates from us. See you, everyone.